मैं अपनी अगली वेबिनार की लिंक चेंज कर दिया हूं। मैं आप आदरणीय सभी का अपनी 1187वीं वेबिनार में हार्दिक स्वागत करता हूं। आयुष समृद्धि के इस ज्ञान गंगा में आज हम बायोडाइवर्सिटी पर चर्चा करेंगे। यूनिक बायोडाइवर्सिटी फॉर होलिस्टिक हेल्थ। एंड आई वुड लाइक टू वेलकम Dr. Saikat Vasu ji and Dr. Suparna Sanyal Mukherjee ji. They are really great orator. Without seeing anything, they can speak for hours, full of knowledge, full of content, best ideas, best concepts. So without wasting much time, I would like to request Professor V.K. Agnihotri sir for his preamble.
थैंक यू प्रोफेसर पवन शर्मा जी। रियली आपके तो हम पहले तो आपकी हम तारीफ करते हैं। आपके न थकने वाले क्रम में आज स्थिति ये आ गई है कि चार वेबिनार का अटेंड करने का सौभाग्य मिल रहा है, और वो भी आई एम ऑन द व्हील्स हम ये कहेंगे। और मजा लग रहा है कि जब हमको सपोर्ट मिल रहा है सिग्नल का। मैं आदरणीय सैकत वैसे साहब का बहुत हृदय से एज यूजुअल बहुत स्वागत करता हूँ, क्योंकि उनका भी कमिटमेंट है। अगर प्रोफेसर पवन शर्मा जी ने इन्वाइट कर लिया तो फिर वो सारे काम छोड़ के हमारा सहयोग देते हैं। उनका अच्छे से शुक्रिया अदा करते हैं। और मैडम हमारी सान्याल जी का भी बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया अदा करते हैं। टॉपिक एकदम अच्छा कि डाइवर्सिटी के मामले में उनका एक अपर हैंड है, मैं ये कहूंगा। तो आप लोगों का बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। आप अल्बर्टा से जुड़ते हैं कनाडा से, तो स्वाभाविक बात है। वो चूंकि भारतीय है इसलिए हमें दोनों फायदे मिलते हैं। विदेश की धरती की व्यवस्थाएं और हमारे भारत की व्यवस्थाएं, दोनों का आपको इक्वल आपकी पकड़ है, एक पूरे कॉन्फिडेंस है। इसलिए हम लोग बहुत अच्छे से लाभान्वित होते हैं। तो आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद है। टॉपिक इतना बढ़िया है कि हम लोग पूरा विश्वास रखते हैं। हम आपको आप शुरू होंगे और हम आपको सुनते चले जाएंगे। ये इससे हमें बड़ी बड़ी खुशी है। बहुत अच्छा, आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। यस सर,
thank you so much once again. It is a great honor to be on this platform. आपको सुनाई दे रहा है? तो ऑडिबल है?
हाँ, क्लियर।
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you once again for inviting me to this platform. It's a great opportunity, and what a great way to end this year today. Almost coming towards the end of this year, and we are talking about biodiversity conservation. Biodiversity. We have delivered a number of lectures about biodiversity conservation. Like before I start the story, I'll tell you about an experience that I had in United States to share how important biodiversity conservation is, or how important is the insignificance of open space in our life. As we know, biodiversity is sum total of all the species on the planet Earth. And when we talk about a specific biodiversity, we highlight mostly on a specific biogeographic area. Just say, for example, India is a rich biodiverse country. China is a rich biodiverse country. Within Asia, we have many rich biodiverse country or the mega biodiverse country, such as India, China, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Philippines. और हमारे साथ में ही very close to us we have in the Oceania, Papua New Guinea. This is also a mega biodiverse country. United States of America is also a very mega biodiverse country, and there are few more around Ecuador, Venezuela, Colombia, Mexico are all major. The Democratic Republic of Congo, these are Madagascar Island in Africa. All these are very rich biodiversity oriented country. And there is the richness of species in any country in terms of the species of plants, animals, microbes, bacteria, virus, fungi, to insects, birds, animals, whatever we could see around us is biodiversity. Biodiversity also includes people. Like we know, whenever we talk about biodiversity, we talk about plants, animals, and other microbes, but we forget about the people. So these Homo sapiens, like billions plus population around the world, also is a part of this biodiversity. And sometimes when you are talking about biodiversity conservation, we usually take this human part away from our equation. But we need to remember that man has created this planet into a heaven with all the amenities, all the modern technologies that we use today. And again, as humans, we are the one who have destroyed biodiversity, environment, and ecosystem. And it is only the human now who could work together on a common platform to generate and create a new planet or a new platform. Now, as our population is increasing, human population is sporadic around the world, in the sense that some part of the world is extremely dense, while some part of the world is very faintly populated or very thinly populated. For example, our India, China, and our developing countries across Asia, Africa, and Latin America are all thickly populated. And if we look into vast stretches of Australia, Canada, vast stretches of Russia, and various other countries, particularly in South America too, are sparsely populated. Now, this huge population and this lack of population creates a lot of opportunities. A lot of opportunities in the sense that these creates unique biodiversity, destroys biodiversity, as well as creates unique opportunities for species to thrive. I'll start with the story of a country which we know the name very much frequently. It is not a biodiversity rich country, but yet again, the latest research around the world are highlighting that it has unique ecosystems, unique environment, and unique biodiversity that has thrived in spite of the hazardous condition of the country. Yes, you may not guess who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Afghanistan. Now, contrary to our common belief and our historical experience that Afghanistan has been a disturbed area from the time of when Alexander the Great visited Asia, this has been a war zone throughout history. There has been Russian Empire trying to occupy the country, the British Empire trying to occupy the country. Then there has been conflicts with the Western powers, including the United States. And the country has gone through hell with Islamic invasion, various terrorist groups and stuff. There has been bombing, incessant war, killing, deaths, devastation of the people of life. But you will be amazed to know it is rich in ecosystem and it is rich in the species. For example, the clouded leopard, one of the species, elusive species of big cats, that is we found in India and China and other parts of the world. If we find it in Russia, we find it in Mongolia, we find it in Central Asia. It's also found in Pakistan and Afghanistan. But strangely speaking, researchers indicated that in spite of all the odds that has happened to Afghanistan, the number of snow leopards in the high mountain ranges of Central Asia, and particularly the Hindu Kush area of Hindu Kush mountains, the snow leopard has thrived. The ecosystem down there, which are very unique subalpine to alpine ecosystems, and particularly very frigid down up in there, has survived and has made unique opportunities for species to increase in their number, when we think that the whole human population down there is going through a very hard time. Why is it that? It is because of these conflicts in all the parts of Afghanistan. The very remote locations of Afghanistan, the high reaches of the mountains, the high valleys across the Oxus River and adjoining areas, is almost uninhabited. Very few people have explored these areas. Very few people. We have gone to the Antarctic and the North Pole, South Pole, Arctic and Antarctic seas, the continents there, Greenland, the various parts of Siberia uninhabited, various parts of Arctic Canada, which is also uninhabited. But we have a lot of information, but we do not have much information of Afghanistan because it is not easy to access this country. So because of these terrorist activities, people have kept away from these high reaches of the mountain. Various isolated valleys within these mountainous ranges, in between the mountain ranges and in and around the Hindu Kush, has thrived over hundreds of years, and the species there have increased. Not only the existence of snow leopard and a high number in the Hindu Kush ranges in and around Afghanistan is also indicative of the good ecological health of the system, because this is a flagship species. If the number of snow leopards are increasing, then their predatory prey species are also increasing. Their ecosystem must be stable, and the plants and vegetation there, although much scarce because it's on the western front edge where there is less rainfall and heavy snowfall, the precipitation is in a different way, and they are dependent on rain and monsoon, not on rain and monsoon. They are more dependent on precipitation during the winter that charges the rivers down there. But all of these has remained untouched because modern humans have not been able to reach many inaccessible area, particularly due to geopolitical issues and stuff, and also because of their remote inaccessibility. So it is very strange to note or discuss that Afghanistan has very rich biodiversity in the high reaches of the country, in spite of what the country has been going through. So, but on the other hand, in case of India, as we have a rich biodiversity, but the question to ask is whether we are able to protect that biodiversity. For example, one of the instant example to share is like the plight of the elephants. Even till date, there are innumerable reports from India, particularly from Odisha, West Bengal, parts of Assam, predominantly in these areas of railways hitting elephants and killing them or injuring them so badly, then they undergo a painful death. Elephants are flagship species. They are important for the maintenance of the entire ecosystem. But in spite of the care the government has taken with Project Tiger or the multiplication of the number of 100 rhinoceros has been successful, it is quite unfortunate that the Indian Railways has failed to cater to the needs of the elephants. These giant mammals, when they are crossing the track, are often hit by the railways because they are not maintaining the distinct speed that they are required to maintain while they are traveling through the forested areas. They are aware. They are provided with lights. They have big lights that come out on the top of the train. They have big horn systems so that they can alarm the animal, and they are asked to travel slow. But the failure of the forest department, together in conjunction, the railway department, the lack of awareness, education, and training of the railway drivers, these accidents are still happening in India, killing one of the most important, iconic, historic mammal in quite a big numbers. The other has been, sad part has been in biodiversity conservation is people leaving live electrocuting wire on their agricultural fields. Particularly, say if it is a rice field and the rice paddy is growing on water, and if you keep the high tension electric wire alive on that water, so elephants coming to feed upon rice on the night is being hit and electrocuted by several thousand volts, and many of them either severely injured or many of them could succumb to death. This is unfortunate as there is mismanagement on the part of the forest department, as also in the training and education of the local people who live in and around forest or are forest residents or are fringe forest dwellers or in the remote rural areas which fell under the elephant corridors. Elephants are giant mammals like tigers. Elephants also move from one part to another. There are giant elephant corridors that continue from India into Nepal and Bhutan and back and forth, India into Myanmar, India into Bangladesh, and then elephants moving from Tripura and other parts. But unfortunately, these corridors are being taken over. Say, for example, in Nepal, like most of the elephants they are very intelligent animals. They do not move to Nepal anymore. The Indian part side is because as soon as they try to get into the Nepal side, the Nepali farmers uses, the air rifles. And although this does not kill the big animal because they are not powerful in that particular way, but they produce these pellets that are laid into the body, produce innumerable small injuries. And those injuries, if not treated in time, develop into infections, and sometimes many times these animals die. Many times it hit their eyes, the poor animals. But why these people in Nepal are doing that? They are also marginal poor farmers. They are trying to protect their farmlands from the elephants that are migrating from India into Nepal or from Nepal into India. Particularly when they're moving from Nepal into India, they are not so much worried about as well as the marauding huge herds of elephants that move from India into Nepal that definitely damages crop. Like in India, in Nepal, the government possibly does not provide enough compensation for the farmers for the crop loss. And they are also not trained and educationally educated or sensitive about the conservation, importance of the conservation and the importance of protecting the ecosystem that they are surviving. As a consequence, the poor animals are being threatened by these innumerable pellets that the farmers shot from the Nepali side, and the elephants could not migrate and they get back. And this is bad in the sense that big animals need to move from one country to another for the purpose of foraging, for the purpose of breeding. Otherwise, if they start breeding among themselves, if they are restricted in moving from one part to another, then soon they will start breeding among themselves, which will result in poor genetic qualities, create genetic bottlenecks, and the population viability will be reduced, and they will be threatened with extinction down in 100 years or so. But there is very similar. This is the story of Bangladesh. There are very few elephants in Bangladesh, and most of them are found on the northeastern part of Bangladesh, which is the Chittagong Hill Tracts that adjoins Myanmar. Now, because of the migration of Rohingya refugees in huge numbers, due to unfortunate reason of persecution in Myanmar, they have taken refuge in Bangladesh, and where they have been settled is a very insensitive elephant corridor. So one fine morning, the elephants are finding, as they're migrating from Myanmar or Thailand into Bangladesh to India, that their roads are blocked, their corridors are being taken, their forests have been completely removed, and there is human settlement where the Bangladesh government has been trying to restrict the millions of Rohingya refugees that has moved from Myanmar into Bangladesh. There has been huge human-animal conflict, killing of people that are being attacked by elephants, or elephants being killed or poached by people in around the area, making the whole situation sensitive. And there is no long-term plan that the government could arrange there, because they are themselves going through economic crisis, political crisis, and the pressure of Rohingya refugees on the economy of Bangladesh, where Bangladesh is not a rich country or does not have a huge amount of resource, and the country is already overpopulated, and the pressure of millions of Rohingya being restricted on their border areas is providing stress to the entire geopolitical situation of the country, and they are so much pushed towards dealing with this that they have very little time to concentrate on their wildlife and the biodiversity conservation. So many species of animal which we find in India used to be present in Bangladesh, like as simple as the nilgai or our peafowl, the ordinary peacock that we see, India's national bird. All these animals were once present in Bangladesh too. But over the time, because of the enormous population pressure and failure of the conservation efforts by the government, or no comprehensive involvement of various stakeholders, including common people in and around the area, to protect, these areas are becoming extremely vulnerable and the wildlife population is dwindling. There has been success stories too, like for example the Kaziranga Wildlife Sanctuary, where the government of India and the government of Assam has taken a monumental step in conserving one-horned Indian rhinoceros, where their numbers have soared over 2,500 now and still increasing, and the poaching has reduced. Now, why this poaching has been happening? The poaching has been happening because the people in and around Kaziranga Sanctuary were extremely poor. They suffer from abject poverty, loss of jobs, very little employment other than seasonal agricultural works. Many of them were marginal poor farmers or marginal workers, marginal laborers who have no land of their own. They work on others' land, and most of the year they are looking for jobs or opportunities to earn some money to support their family. So because there is no such employment opportunities available for them, they became highly dependent on the forest for resources such as fuel, fodder, fire, forage, food, whatever they could get from the forest. And the other part was the international poaching racket with roots in China, Vietnam, and other Southeast Asian country, predominantly China. They are providing them with sophisticated arms, and they were poachers with even intelligent modern gadgets, that the police is still working with 303 rifles, and they are using AK-47 to AK-56 modern rifles to shoot animals. So they were collecting rhino horns, killing animals, killing tigers, killing elephants. But these has reduced in these areas because the government has finally taken people into the equation of conservation. My point in talking about this biodiversity conservation is that unless we involve people in and around forested areas, forest fringe dwellers, or forest residents, or tribal or remote rural communities that live in the forest, and make them understand this forest is not only their source of sustenance, but it's also a source of economic boost for the country. Because if they protect the animals, if they protect the forest, if they work in close association with the forest departments, it is for their benefit. So what the Kaziranga forest departments afforded or planned or strategized was involving these people in the process of conservation. Many of these poor people served as porters for the forest department. Many of them were involved and in protecting forest, becoming temporary forest guards, or they are working as eco-tourist guides, providing intelligence to the forest department about the movement of smugglers, contraband community suppliers, traffickers, wildlife trafficking. All this information, people in and around the forest who has lived most of their life close to the forest have very intimate knowledge of the forest. So the Kaziranga Sanctuary authorities, with the help of the government of India and the government of Assam, has worked out an excellent network where they have involved these people as a part of the conservation process. And this is why the Manas or the Kaziranga Wildlife Sanctuary and this model has been extremely successful, where people realize by helping in the conservation of the forest, by helping in the conservation of the premier wildlife, they are attracting tourists. They are building an ecosystem. They are not only having agricultural jobs, they are getting jobs throughout the year through ecotourism, through forest department initiatives in various works, in clear cutting of trees, in clearing of forest, as forest guards, maintenance, and whatnot. So these change the scenario, and is absolutely a global example that we could share in demonstrating that this is very important. Where huge number of people are involved, we need to have people to work towards the conservation of the wildlife. Without their support, it is not possible to make the conservation initiative successful. But very less time that we have understood or utilized this process and involved common people in many of the conservation initiatives, and as a consequence many of these conservation initiatives has not been successful. For example, the breeding of snow leopard has been quite successful. The breeding of red panda in the Padmaja Himalayan Zoo in Darjeeling in West Bengal, or in Sikkim, or in Ladakh and in Arunachal Pradesh has been quite successful. But what has not been successful is the reintroduction of these species back into their wild. Why is it that? It is because the way these animals have been raised, when they were raised in captivity, they have become intimately dependent on their human supporters or caregivers. As a result, they have never learned, when you have an animal restricted within the premises of the zoo all its life, and it's being fed throughout the registered regular workers at designated time, they become lazy. They lose the skills. New babies that are born to mothers of those animals that were already raised in zoos do not have hunting skills. You may have seen in several reports that people accidentally falling in the cages of tiger in the zoos initially was not attacked by the tiger or the lion, because animals that are raised in the zoo has never been in the wild and they do not even know how to hunt. It is only later down the reason that they have become too close in proximity they may have attacked, or a simple scratch or a simple bite could be extremely fatal for human, and accidents have resulted for people who have dared, fortunately or unfortunately, mostly, who have been fallen inside the zoo and have suffered a cruel death in the hands of big cats. But many of them were drunk, or many of them were intoxicated when they did so. But nonetheless, the loss of life is regretted. But at the same time, the point is that these animals are not trained. These animals have no natural training, no natural instinct for hunting. All this accident happened just because of they were scared, and because being scared and not knowing that person, they have attacked them. Same is the case of animals that are raised in such in such a caregiving system in which their numbers are multiplying, their breeding has been fine, but when they are released into the environment, they either come back to where from these zoos or these foster homes from where they have been raised, or they are unable to survive in the forest. They are being challenged by their wild relatives or other animals. They fail to procure food. They fail to get proper shelter. They also fail to find proper mate for breeding. And then there is challenges of reproductive rights among these animals, where animals of the same species have attacked the animals that has been released that are males, has been killed by them. Also, there have been challenges of stray dogs and other dangers within the forest, which wild species of these are very well aware. Red panda released from the breeding centers has not been able to survive within the bamboo forest of the eastern Himalayas where they have been released is because they are not trained how to survive in their forest home. Many of them were attacked by stray dogs. Many of them get down from the bamboo forest, tried moving towards the village. Possibly they had become so accustomed to people, but then they were attacked by these dogs, stray dogs, the paria dogs that we have, and these dogs have killed many of these red panda that has been raised and was released in the natural environment. So it is our biodiversity conservation efforts needs to understand that animals that we are trying to multiply in breeding centers before releasing them, we need to have them wild exposure. They need to get as much less help from human and being raised in a very much natural environment before they are released, because without that they will not be able to survive in their wild. Same as some of this challenge of introduction of cheetah in the Kuno National Park in Madhya Pradesh has been showing up too. I think I greatly appreciate the government of India for doing the first ever largest intercontinental mammal transfer. India is the pioneering country in doing that, and they have introduced the cheetahs in that particular environment. But as per the reports, many of them have died, and none of them are doing very good. First of all, they are not used to the atmospheric condition or the weather and the environment. They have lived much of their life in a very, very dry environment. And India is a moisture, little humidity rich environment in which they are not used to. And many of them are having infections on their neck due to the radio collars that are put on them to keep track of these animals, how they're moving and traveling. But these radio collars are producing fungal infections around the neck of the cheetahs, and then they are trying to scratch or remove that thing. And this is where they are scratching and putting lot of deep gush or wounds on their neck, which are counter-infected by other infections. And these are becoming, they have less immunity and they are dying. They are not being able to make successful hunts. So they have been again restricted in the very small confined environment, and the government is possibly thinking with the help of experts how to rehabilitate this cheetah while making them India their home by taking them from Africa. This will possibly take a long time, but the initiatives and care of the government, although criticized in some corner, I would appreciate it because they are trying to do some conservation. They are trying to expand the range of a wild animal that needs to be integrated. Biodiversity conservation also depends on cooperation between various countries. There is very little international cooperation in wildlife conservation between countries which share borders like India, Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Myanmar. We do not have any kind of agreement for transboundary mammals that move from one country to another. If it was possible for the countries to share intelligence, to exchange information, and work together in holding back many of these wildlife traffickers, terrorists that are moving in these or operating in these areas, our wildlife conservation would have been much better. But unfortunately, such international joint forest initiative is very little seen. There has been a little bit with respect to Sundarban between the Indian and the Bangladesh government, but most other areas, a little bit between India and Nepal, but most other areas, there has been very little international cooperation. This is very important now. Unless countries sharing international borders where there is wildlife transmission migration and they are rich in biodiversity, they do not cooperate with one another, do not cooperate, coordinate, communicate with one another and share intelligence, share their expertise, wildlife conservation becomes extremely challenging. But this has happened like, the gharial, the alligator has been breeding in Bihar and parts of Uttar Pradesh and in Nepal. But there is a little bit of cooperation between these two countries in release of gharials in the wild. But this cooperation needs to increase at a much greater international level to make the release of gharials into the natural ecosystem of the river Ganges and Gandak and other rivers that flows in and around in Nepal and India, to make this animal come back, is not taking proper shape because of this lack of cooperation. Again, the Orissa government has taken great initiative in providing conservation efforts to olive ridley turtles that comes to breed in the Bhitarkarnika sanctuary by removing complete eradication of tourists from this area. They do not allow any tourists to move into this area and has made these beaches an extensive, extremely protected areas for olive ridley turtles that come. The females come here for laying their eggs in hundreds and thousands, and then they go back, and then the babies hatch, and then they move back to the ocean. They have done a wonderful, efficient effort in helping these animals to survive, and there has been cooperation between local people, various NGOs, government, central government, and the state governments of Odisha has cooperated together. And together, as we could see, with the help of villagers in and around that area, and along with forest department, ecology conservation, this has worked pretty good. So I would like to end my biodiversity conservation by indicating or suggesting the fact that while we look for biodiversity conservation, while we all understand the biodiversity conservation is very important, but we do not understand that we need to cooperate. Countries need to cooperate, state and central governments needs to cooperate, and we need to include people as stakeholders. People in and around the forest need to be made a part of their conservation effort to make biodiversity conservation big successful. In case of Kuno National Park, there has been incidents of the cheetahs moving out of the forest into the village areas, scaring the people that they may get attacked, which is quite natural. Animals has a natural instinct of attacking people, and if they are outside their home range, they are already very stressed. So out of fear, they may attack people. But very little cooperation has been done from the forest department in that area to integrate these people into this part of this conservation, make them understand, provide them with resources, provide them with financial support, make them a part of the conservation effort or as stakeholders traveling on the same boat. Hence, this has not been going very good. People needs to be integrated in the equation to make this a great success. So I do sincerely hope that the way the governments around the world are working together needs to increase their cooperation. There is international trafficking happening of wildlife. Unless governments across the continents work together, share intelligence, cooperate, communicate, and collaborate with one another, it will be very difficult to protect global biodiversity. With this, I conclude my lecture, thanking AYUSH Samriddhi and their team with Dr. Sharma, Dr. Agniyatri for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much, and look forward to answer any questions you may have or any commentaries. Thank you very much, sir.
Excellent, Dr. Sekhar, excellent. Agniyatri, sir.
Thank you, Professor Sharma, and we are just delighted on hearing the whole of the presentation given by our friend Dr. Sekhar Tasuji. Really, the area of his knowledge is boundless, and but I feel that subject is of no value when he starts giving his theme or the relevant subject. So I think in a small mobile set, he made us fortunate to give a round of whole world, right from Bhutan, Nepal, Myanmar, Bangladesh, India, and even so many states of India, including Odisha, everything. So the wider aspect of biodiversity is being covered by him. And what I feel that each and every say creature, animal, cheetahs, every sector he touched, and also our paddy workers, they are he is very sensitive for all their lives and for their maintenance. So it's very important to concern government, maybe state government, national government, or international authorities. They should be kind enough to see the interest of all the human beings who are responsible for the life of the animals, the avies, and all the aquariums and everything. So great submission by Dr. Sekhar Tasuji, and we do hope much more say quality and qualified addresses by him in coming new year. Thank you so much, and over to Professor Pawan Sharma ji.
Thank you very much, and I wish and extend hearty Happy New Year wishes to you all in advance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Namaskar. Over to Professor Pawan Sharma ji.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर, आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। अब मैं मैडम सान्याल मुखर्जी मैडम से प्रार्थना करूंगा। आई वुड लाइक टू इनवाइट मैडम सान्याल। वेलकम मैडम, वेलकम, वेलकम अगेन।
वेलकम।
Okay. Very good evening to all of you, the all dignitaries, along with my co-speaker. Sir, I have sent you PPT. If you wish, you can share it, and it will be the very good PPT, and it will
श्योर
enrich.
श्योर, प्लीज शेयर, प्लीज शेयर।
Yes, sir. So today's theme is biodiversity for holistic health. It's a very interesting and a very good topic for discussion and for knowledge gaining. So this is the system which has been enriched. If we can explore in our day-to-day life, in our every moment, the biodiversity is the basic fact. Biodiversity in every individual lives, it has enriched us, it's had explored, it's had giving the enormous potentiality for the human life. Today, I will discuss on the topic of biodiversity encounters tribal health. Is it possible to share the slide, please?
Yes,
So,
ma'am,
bas-
we have not seen. Have you shared?
so I have shared it to Professor Sharma ji. So is his website in my WhatsApp? If he can share it. Or I can try it. Let's say I'm starting. Basically, the biodiversity encounters tribal health. How the biodiversity affected to the tribal health. We Indian society is the complex amalgamation of diverse races and cultures. Barriers of several phenomena like religions, languages, and traditions divide its people into the innumerable sects, and sometimes it is lead to the incompatibility. But in case of the culture and food have been appreciated as Indian cousin. So both are significantly related with each other, while biodiversity is the fact. The traditional food of India has been widely appreciated in various parts of the country, in various parts of the regions. And what food are available in that particular region, it is enrich the people those who are residing and living on that particular region. It's a fabulous use of herbs and spices. An Indian cuisine is known for the large assortment of cultural dishes just because of the biodiversity. So we have biodiversity, that's why we are enriching ourselves. We are giving us life potentiality and enrich our life system with the potential aspects. So here I'm emphasizing on the protein calorie malnutrition. Protein calorie malnutrition, which refers to various deficiencies, exercises, or the imbalances in a child's intake of energy and or nutrients. Basically, protein calorie malnutrition is a common phenomenon among most people, especially those who are living in the deep inside the forest, especially the indigenous mass, especially basically the tribes. The tribes are aborigine. They are the born. They have the age-old rights over the forest. They are originated in the forest. They are developed their day-to-day life in the forest, and every aspects of their life, like socio-cultural aspect, socio-economic aspect, techno-economical aspect, and the socio-religious aspect, socio-political aspect, socio-health issues. Everything is depending upon the forest. The forest-based tribes, especially the children below 5 years of age who are suffering from the malnutrition, especially since birth, at the village like Jualbanga, which is situated in the Jharkhand Forest Division, Lodashuli Beat and Lodashuli Range, and there are two types of tribes that are residing over there. One is the Santal, and another one is the Lodha. Both the tribes are residing all together, but their economic system, socio-economic system, socio-cultural system, and every aspects of life is different, and food habit is also different. So how the biodiversity coincide in their life? The entire ambit was, there are several scientists who has been work in this particular aspect, of which very few are mentionable here. Especially the socio-economic and rural development in India on the forest, which has been worked by the S.S. Negi. And then Sannal Mukherjee also worked at the forest dwelling tribes, and she has worked on this the particular two types for this research tenure, and since she is also emphasizing on that. Then Glimp Stewards, he also worked on this forest and forest dwelling tribes, especially the double burden of malnutrition in Asian continent. So this work is giving us some ideological point of view that how we can develop ourselves, and what was the main factors for us to enrich ourselves for the biodiversification aspects. Main objectives are to identify the causes for suffering from malnutrition, points out especially the factors affecting malnutrition, to enhance awareness among the tribal people regarding protein calorie malnutrition, then the protect children from malnutrition, at the same time to accumulate proper measure for the children who are suffering from the malnutrition, and to enhance the impact of biodiversity, how the biodiversity is enacting in this particular features. Then if we can come to the impact of malnutrition is basically the nutritional aspect which is ensured by regular intake of balanced diet capable of supporting the consumer and in a state of good health by by providing the desired nutrient optimally and providing the right amount of energy to execute the normal physical constituents, so or the activities. In the total amount of nutrients provided in the diet is insufficient when we are suffering from the malnutrition. And in another way we can defend upon the undernutrition will lead to malnutrition and ultimately to severe malnutrition. So this way, it has been found it out that the tribal children, especially, they are suffering from the malnutrition, and malnutrition is effective for their day-to-day life. And this nutritional aspect is very dangerous for them, I mean, just because they are not getting the proper food, the proper benefit of the food. There are several factors which are affecting nutrition, like the socio-cultural phenomenon, the socio-economic factors, then the most important is environmental factors, especially the biodiversity orientation. Then the Jualvanga village, if we can look into the Jualvanga village, I have told you that it is deep inside the forest, the dense forest, the Jharkhand division, Lodashuli range and Lodashuli bit, the Jharkhand district of West Bengal, and the total studied population was 214, which belonging to 38 households, of which 28 are the Lodha and 10 households were the Santal. The Santals of Jualvanga are essentially agricultural workers. They are the agricultural laborer, but Lothars were the wage laborer. At the same time, they were the agricultural laborer. So in that case, the economic system, the economic stability was totally different, and they never ever stand up. They can't continue their standard of living, because both the standard of living is different, though they are living in a same village, just because of their every aspect, socio-cultural aspect, socio-economic aspect is different. if we can see to it that the Lothars are mostly suffering from the malnutrition for inadequate food habit, living in the below poverty line, insufficient food intake lead them in the protein calorie malnutrition. The authentic development should focus on the enrichment of human being, not seizing expansion of the existing. But the standard of living must be corollary to the standard of standard of life, not vice versa. So biodiversity is a fact which can be emphasized on the particular point of view where we can develop our social existence, at the same time the socio-cultural existence, economic existence, socio-economic existence, and political identify. There are, I have told that the Lothas are, in at Jualvanga village, that is the total 214 population, of which 156 is the Lodha and 58 is at the Santal. And the Santal, it has been observed that the Lodha male are maintaining higher ratio than the Santal male. And Lodha female are maintaining higher ratio in case of the Santal female. And the family size, it has been observed that the medium family size is basically emphasizing the ratio of medial family size is very high than the large family size. But these people are leaning towards to the nuclear family size, just because of the biodiversity, at the same time the uh, unavailability of the food habits, the percentage of foods. And the degree of dependence of the forest also emphasizing upon, just because they are depending upon the forest, and they are also depending upon forest food and the market food. So forest foods, they are collecting in the seasonal fruits, seasonal flowers, seasonal seeds, seasonal leaves, which are they are habituated to in their day-to-day life. They are getting all the foods from their side. And the regular dependence, and it has been observed that the Santals are not more keen to the forest, where the Lothas are more keen to the forest, because Lothas female, especially the older female, they are very good in their forest collection, and they are more dependent on the forest than the wage laboring. But the Santal male are also interesting. Getting the forest involvement is very less, because they are, though they are practicing agriculture, and they are settled agriculturists, still they don't have the so much keen to the forest, just because of they are maintaining the rooting work. And if we can say that there are every day they are collecting 18 varieties of food, especially the forest food, and of which they are getting their quantum protein value is the 38.4% out of 100 gram of the calorie. And the procurement of forest food by the Lodha and the Sandan depend upon availability of the varieties, the food varieties. And the Lodha procured all mentioned food regularly, and which is not the Santal. And the 100%, 100 gram protein calorie malnutrition, it has been observed that the Lodha is more highest than the Santal. And the collection of market production, which is very less in the Lodha, it has been observed, but it is very high in the Santal. Just because of Santals are economically stable, just because they are practicing settled agriculture. So their agriculture is giving the feedback to them instead of the Lodha, because Lodha, though they are hunter-gatherer, though they are known as hunter-gatherer, the hunting portion is totally eclipsed. The gathering portion is only restoring. So in this gathering, they cannot survive, they cannot earn the money as is required. So sometimes what is happened, they cannot enter into the with the Santal, because with the Santal they are practicing agriculture, because they are not the trained agriculture. But with the Santal, they are just practicing. And the same way, they are getting the jobs in the MG NREGA, of which they are not getting the job when 100 days program. So it is they are practicing this 100 days program if they can get the opportunity. There is no certainty. So if the 100 days programs is there, of any village, especially in the Jewel Vangan, they are participating, but they are not earning as much as required by them. Hence, they are suffering from the protein calorie malnutrition just because of they not purchase the food from the outside of the forest. But forest food is very scarce because due to the different type of due to the production, then which production is getting very less, so it is unavailable to them. They are not getting. So what has happened? So they are gradually suffering from the malnutrition, though the biodiversity portion can protect them, then enrich them, they can ensure them, and they can develop in their particular aspect. Still, they are facing the malnutrition aspect. And what happened? Protein calorie consumption is getting very less. And this protein calorie answer, it has been depicted that I cannot show the table. So this table has been very intricately narrated over here, that the 70.1% of the which depicts the protein calorie nutrition, and 91% is the for the protein they can acquire it. So what has happened? The traditional point of view, the traditional capacity, the 5.97% deficit in case of the Santal and Lodha. If the Santal is getting the higher percentage and the Lodha is getting the low percentage, the 5.97% is the very factuality they are getting. So protein calorie nutrition shows that the 5.97% total protein consumption in 2,698 calorie of food, which is the meager to the required amount. So insufficient protein absorption in daily food intake leads to the protein calorie malnutrition. And the forest food collection, forest food collection, then the market food collection at the same time, they are cooked food, they are getting cooked food, and those cooked food are giving the more calorie. And this calorie portion, they are in case of this their protein total food value and the protein value, if we can count it, it has been shows that the 5.97%, the total food value, they are getting the 5.8% in case of the Santal and 4.11% in case of the Lodha. So there is the imbalance situation is 1.69%. So this percentage is very difficult to recover it, just because of though the biodiversity is there, but the scarcity of food and the scarcity of forest productions. There is several population distribution, the pie diagram, then the charts I have also mentioned there, how they are competing and how they are differentiating themselves, how the charts has been giving the exact situation, what is the food value. The consumed food and the protein calorie malnutrition is a very optimum portion, just because of the nutritional aspect. If we can enrich ourselves, so it has been observed that there are several tribes, not only in the West Bengal, in the other parts of the country, especially in the Andaman, then the Madhya Pradesh, then the Odisha, then Uttarakhand, the Bastar, Chhattisgarh. The tribes, those are living, they are not properly nourished, just because of the unknowing of the biodiversity protection. Because we know that the forest act given us the not enriching, that means we cannot the people, those who are living in the forest, they cannot get into the forest, they cannot take the forest products but it is the policy guidelines that's giving them the some concessions like non-timber on the basis of the non-timber minor forest producers. This non-timber minor forest producers, when they are collecting, though the act is prohibiting, but still the policy guidelines giving some concessions. On the basis of this concession, they are collecting those non-timber minor forest producers. And the 2005 Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, that is which was implemented in 2005, and 100 days guaranteed program. This 100 days guaranteed program is giving them some benefit, but the benefit is not sufficient. The insufficient benefit giving them the jeopardized situation. The biodiversity also protected by them just because of the social forestry has been implemented, then the MGNRG has been implemented, then the joint forest system, then the forest protection committee is there. So all amalgamated with just because of the community development. And this community development is possible by those tribes, those who are living in the deep inside the forest and the forest range. And these forests, especially the protected forest, just because the reserve forest is not possible, reserve forest is prohibited for the entering into the forest and outside of the forest. So that's why they are living in the protected forest, and they are protecting just because it is there. They are considered the forest as their own natural home. That means where they are where they are breathing. So free breathing is the sensation of their life. Just as they are protecting the forest, and this forest are giving them the enormous potentiality on the food, on the shelter, on the livelihood status, on the economic status, on the cultural status. So all are amalgamated with them with each other. So biodiversity is the main factor. That means the biodiversity giving them the holistic view, not only to them. If we should not forget that they are the mirror of our country, because those tribes, those who are living in the forest, those who are living in the any parts of the India, they are the mirror, because they are enriching our culture, and we are enriched through the culture and system. So to protect them, to restore them, to giving them enormous potentiality through the biodiversity in the holistic approach or in the holistic health, it is our responsibility, just because they are our fellow citizens. Hence, the community practice and the biodiversity were a basic phenomenon where community development had a wider scope. So, ushering a new pattern of lifestyle and living standard when the community could work with the new legways with diversification. So, procurement of forest food by the tribes, especially the Lodha and the Santal in the Jualbanga villages, which is depending upon the availability of the mentioned food in the forest, the 18 varieties of food which are available in their surrounding area. So extended family size, large number of population structure, and the deterioration of the forest dependence and unavailability of the required food value is leading them towards the malnutrition. The Lodha children of the Jualbanga is suffering, and they are also they are not getting the proper food value, whereas the Santal, those who are depending upon the basic socio-economic structure, they are getting the proper food value and nutrition value. So while the social determinants also coincide, the juxtapoints for the health status of the tribal children below 5 years of age, what they are aging, and their age is continuing developing. So to annihilate malnutrition from India, to achieve sustainable development goals which enhance and foster the development of health status of the children in wider aspects within 2030, the target year. Hence, the biodiversity is coincide for this present phenomenon. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, ma'am.
उसका ट्रेनर मिला था ना मिकी
बहुत ही अच्छा मैडम, आपने बहुत ही अच्छा कंटिन्यू फ्लो में एक्सीलेंट ऑन बायोडाइवर्सिटी, ग्रेट। मैं अग्निहोत्री सर से प्रार्थना करता हूँ
जी
कमेंट्स की।
thank you Professor Sharma ji, and so much thanks to Dr. Sanyal ma'am. As far as the biodiversity is concerned, you covered all the areas and especially put pressure over the very sensitive part that to protect them, to make them best use of it, it is very natural that the human mistake should not be there. Humans are supposed to come forward voluntarily to make their life safe and be friendly to them, so that we will in position to have a uh, prestigious, proud over our biodiversity in our country and also in the world. Because whenever we see the Discovery Channel and all these things, we feel that how much richness is there in the world, and how these adventurous cameras are uh, making things available to us. But it is only possible when we are to the ecosystems. So their safety and our sensitiveness towards their life will be a great boon for the uh, great prestigious and prideful moment for us that we have got such a biodiversity in our country, so all over the world. So your approach and your study on this subject is really very to the point and very supportive to this instinct that we should be friendly and humble to the all creatures of whatever they are available in our great diversity all over the world. This is what I really thanks you for your great submission and also your contribution to this time, which is in India, it is 11 o'clock, 11 past, almost 11. Yeah, so 11:15. So for us, it is really a great time, and we really appreciate your contribution, especially when we are here, uh, interested to learn from you. So your contribution is really appreciable. Thank you so much, sir. Over to Professor Sharma ji.
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर,
Thank you
थैंक यू
very
वेरी
much.
मच, थैंक यू।
Thank you.
नव कुमार जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आप कुछ बोलेंगे नव कुमार जी?
नव कुमार जी, अच्छा
जी सर। सर मैंने yes, this is very important topic we have discussing here. Dr. Sokot sir has already told about Northeast. Just I add some little elephant relating talk that exactly the railway is always passing through the nearby the elephant forest, and they exactly that some foods grains which are taking from somewhere in the train for particular area, and that were leakage there in this elephant land, and that is why they are coming, this elephant were coming towards the line to take something which grain were fall down, and that is why a lot of time the speed of this train were not controlled. As a result, the baby elephant were died and cut out by the train. This is very tragic to today also we have seen, means to during that time also it is happening. Another thing is that in rhino horn is exactly world famous uh, one horn rhino. In there also lot of immigrant people, they are exactly taking shelter last 10 to 20 years, and they are doing their forest deforestation there and cultivating. As a result, the rhino are coming to their home, and they kill it and collect the horn and sell it. So this is the business were done. Now the government has totally evacuated that particular immigrant people. So little bit improvement of rhino killing is there control. Another animal species is there, that is golden langur. One golden langur monkey is there. Their color is exactly golden color. It is rare variety of monkey. I think only this area is available nearby the Manas. and that is also almost extinct in variety, because that breeding is very low. The environment is also not getting now because of deforestation, and also people is also collecting it and sell it in high cost. As a result, this is also extinct, will be there. Another is hornbill. One bird is there in Manas forest. That is a bird, and beak is very large, and this is also very beautiful. And that type of bird is also nowadays almost vanishing, because the people were collected in it, and the brain matter is used in oil and used as a anti arthritis. So that is why it is also almost getting extinct. And one duck is available in our lake, and that duck is very small size, and the meat is very sweet, very beautiful. That is why it is also almost killed. And this type of bird is also going to the finish from this universe. So these are the happening in our area. Definitely we have to protect them. It is great diversity. It is Northeast is one of the 12 diversity of world. One diversity is there, and lot of these birds are there which are not available in other country or even other area. So within this, I say that this is good and fruitful discussion. We have to learn about lot of things from Dr. Bosu sir and Suparna ma'am. Thank you to all of you. Over to Pawan Sharma sir. Thank you, sir.
थैंक यू वेरी मच, थैंक यू वेरी मच। मैं अब आदरणीय डॉक्टर लक्ष्मीकांत द्विवेदी सर को सादर आमंत्रित करता हूं उनके कंक्लूडिंग रिमार्क्स के लिए। आदरणीय द्विवेदी सर।
नमस्कार सभी विद्वत वृंदों को। आज के 4 वेबिनार हुए, सभी को अच्छी इंफॉर्मेटिव जानकारियां मिली, और उसके आधार पर सभी को साधुवाद, धन्यवाद और शुभ रात्रि। थैंक यू।
थैंक यू।
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर। गुड
शुभ
नाइट
रात्रि सर। गुड नाइट, गुड नाइट, शुभ रात्रि, नमस्कार,
शुभ रात्रि।
हैप्पी एंड सेफ जर्नी सर।
यस, अब 1 घंटा रह गया, मुश्किल से पहुंच रहे हैं, नजियाबाद पार हो गए।